Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast 210, and today's podcast marks the 4-year anniversary of our mastermind community here, which started at the beginning of April 2021. And here we are 4 years later. Crazy how time flies. And it's really amazing to see what we've built here over the past 4 years. What we're doing here is incredibly unique, and I'm so grateful to be a part of your journey and to experience some of the wildest years in the Matrix together. It's been wild since 2020. We all know what happened that year. And as we can all see now, so far, this year of 2025, the year of the snake, has been absolutely packed with psyops and confusion. And now that confusion has shifted to anxiety, and the traditional markets are absolutely panicking. Jim Cramer is saying we'll have a Black Monday tomorrow. You guys know the drill. All the talking heads are in peak fear, and this crypto market has been in fear for 2 months now. So the big question is, how long will this sell-off go on for? When is the bottom, and when is the expected relief rally? Well, for today's Red Pill, I want to focus on all of that for our 4-year anniversary special, and that means today I'll also be including technical analysis for the traditional markets, reviewing the charts of the Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000, as well as the DXY, the US dollar index, and the gold and silver charts as well, before getting into our altcoin analysis, where, as always, we'll be reviewing Ethereum and XRP for a broad overview of the altcoin market, and then we'll wrap up our Red Pill with an additional 4 altcoins that you guys voted on. So we have a lot to cover today, but before we get into it, just a quick update. Early access for joining Waters Above University is officially live. So if you'd like to enroll today, head over to the link in the description or in the pinned comment below. It's watersabove.com/mm-university. And as of right now, this page is not available to the public. It's only for our mastermind community here. And you'll see that there's a reduced price compared to what will be available in a couple days during the public launch. Since our community here gets the biggest discount available for our university, and there actually won't be any discount available to the public at all. So this is a really exclusive offer for you guys here. And since our first cohort has concluded, and we've completed our 9-week accelerator course at the launch of our university, you'll see that this 9-week accelerator is now available for those that are interested in just that program. Although you can see with the pricing structure, it is much more advantageous to just join us for a year over in our university, because this 9-week accelerator, it only includes access to the course itself. It does not include any additional perks, such as access to our university community and the weekly group coaching calls that I host, as well as the live Q&As that are hosted by me as well, which, by the way, you'll get access to all of these perks in our university for a full year for that single one-time only payment, as opposed to just going with this 9-week program itself. And another thing to mention is the discount that's available here will not be available for the 9-week accelerator, only for the university. And our university also includes all of our past pre-recorded group coaching calls and Q&As that were hosted by me, and exclusive interviews with special guests who are experts in their field. And by the way, I already have my next 2 special guests lined up for our new cohort that's launching soon. So yes, over time, we will continue to add even more value by adding more special guest speakers. And our university will continue to pack on more and more value as the weeks progress. So for just the extra 39 cents more a day, you can access all that additional value for a full year, making this the best offer available for the cost and the time frame to have access. It's less than a cup of coffee a day to have all this value. And you can work together with me and our community to create genuine products, your own brand, or even optimize your current business if you already have operations running but you need additional support to get you on the right track. And in our university community, we're building businesses together, helping each other discover your passion and learn how to monetize your passion, and keeping each other accountable along the way with accountability tasks. And it's truly a one-of-a-kind co-creation space. Also, if you scroll down a little on the website, you'll find the sample video here that's clipped out a couple of different sections from this 9-week accelerator. And if you want to get a sneak peek of what's covered in the program, go ahead and check that out. And if you have any additional questions or you need help deciding, definitely check out the frequently asked questions section a little bit lower down on this website. This answers most, if not all, of the commonly asked questions about our university, so you can review that section as well to just make sure that it's the right fit for you. So I'm really looking forward to onboarding our new cohort this week, and this upcoming Thursday, April 10th, will be our first live Q&A within our university hosted by me to kick off the new cohort. So if you want to attend that live Q&A this Thursday, you can join our university today to get settled in over the next couple days to prepare for us kicking things off later in the week. Again, the link to enroll in our university and your exclusive promo code can be found in the description and in the pinned comment below. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better and working closer with you as the year progresses. Now, let's get into today's red pill. But first, as always, make sure to get relaxed, get comfortable, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea if it's a little earlier in the day, or a glass of wine or beer if it's getting a little later out there in the matrix. And also make sure to comment below this post here on Patreon to vote on the altcoins you'd like me to cover in next week's Red Pill podcast. But before you leave a comment, just make sure that you use the search function here on Patreon to check that I have not covered the project in at least 3 months. So if it's been over 3 months since I reviewed that altcoin, or if I've never covered that altcoin before, which by the way, we do have a altcoin today that I've never covered before, so I'm really looking forward to checking that out. It's highly requested. And as long as I haven't looked at a chart in 3 months, or if I've never looked at it before, as long as it has 1 year of chart history, you can go ahead and comment the name of the altcoin and also include the ticker symbol alongside it. And whatever submissions get the most likes or the most hearts, those top 4 will be selected for next week's Red Pill. So now that you know about our altcoin voting system, let's get into it, starting with addressing what just happened into our market close for the traditional markets on April 4th, which was a date that I was warning you about in advance because it was tied to the date of 3/3, the Gregorian 33 date, and 33 days after was the 4/4 date. This date was also important because the 3/3 Gregorian date was also the day leaving 303 days left in the year. Utilizing the rules of numerology, you remove that 0, you get back to the master number 33. I even talked about it on my new YouTube video, which came out before this day happened. So this 33 code was very powerful and something that I was keeping in mind, especially with the 2/2 event that happened into the 33rd day of the year. And the stock market got absolutely slammed this past Friday on April 4th, the biggest red weekly close that we've seen in the traditional markets since the C19 crash, which was 5 years ago. Now, quick fun fact, the Dow Jones just closed off the week at, as you can see over here, 38,000 points, 38,300, which is also the palindrome of the 383 forwards and backwards. But I want you to focus on this number 38. Well, if we go over here to the C19 crash and we were to go to the absolute top, which was around, let's just call it 29,500, a little bit more, all the way to the sell-off lows, and you're going to see that that correction back then, that historic correction, was 38%. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was exactly around 38.3%, give or take a couple fractions of a point. So you got your 38 number, And we just closed off the week for the Dow Jones with 38,300 points. It's pretty wild if it was actually the negative 38.3. Anyways, the point here is that this number 38 and 83 is something that we actually talk about a lot here on this channel. We talked about it last year quite a bit because it had a lot to tie into the year of the dragon. But also, that was one of our ways of determining how gold would perform throughout this year, all the way before we have the year of the horse. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I just want to stick to this right now because we had this closure into 38,000 points, one of the biggest the biggest red weekly close we've had since the C19 crash. And you can see the C19 crash was a 38% crash. And the mirror of the number 38 is 83. And we literally just had Bitcoin close off its day yesterday, which was Satoshi Nakamoto's 50th birthday. I've been talking about this far in advance. And Bitcoin closed off the day at 83K. So we have this as above, so below vibe of 38, 83, the mirror number of each other. And as you're aware from the recent updates, that date of April 5th, something we've been talking about a lot, that was where the Dow Jones came down the day before. We just want to look at where the Dow Jones topped because there could be something tied to all of this. And you'll see that we got the 45,000 point level as the all-time high for the Dow Jones. Well, we just crashed yesterday into the 4-4 date, and let me show you something because we have Satoshi's birthday on the 4-5 date. We have into the closure of the week the 38,000 points. Then we have the 45,000 point high. 4-5 date is Satoshi's birthday, and then Bitcoin closes the day at 83K. Well, let's take from this date the last time that the Dow traded at 45,000 points on January 31st. And if you measure over to the date of 4-4, which was the closure that we just had for the week, April 4th, it's exactly 44 trading days. You can't make this up. All prices and dates and time frames syncing up together like magic. And since I brought up Black Monday earlier, since Jim Cramer said that's what he's expecting tomorrow, let's look at the gematria for Black Monday. And we get the 33, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, how 33 days after the Gregorian 3-3 date, 33s lands you into April 4th. Well, Black Monday also gives you 38. Just like the Dow Jones crashed into this exact price of the 38,000 point level, absolutely slicing through all the way from 40 down to 38. This was a historic move. This will go down in history, okay? So this is very, very powerful stuff here, guys. All of these numbers are tying together. And you're obviously all aware, Jim Cramer is part of the club, serving his role, listening to his masters, following their script he's handed on a daily basis. He's obviously very useful to their agenda. He has been for quite a while, and you can't blame him. He was probably born into their cult, so whatever. But lastly, another interesting fact about Black Monday is that this year on October 19th, let me actually see if I have this saved somewhere. Black Monday, boom. You'll see the date. It was on October 19th in 1987, right? Well, that makes this year on October 19th, 2025, will be the 38th anniversary of Black Monday, and we're talking about this number 38 here. So that number 38 code has shown up again, and I feel like it's pretty obvious now why Bitcoin specifically is trading around this 83K level, the mirror number, because this is the Aquarian economy. This is what Trump is here to push this whole world into, and it starts with America, as it always has, right? So we're moving out of the older age into the newer age, and this is just what it is, guys. And it's pretty obvious now because we can see this market doing what it's doing, and it's all planned, right? Now, we're using this 39 code. I thought to go back, or 38 code, excuse me. I thought to go back to March 8th, which was the 3/8 date, and I wanted to add 38 days to it and see where this takes me. And it brings me to April 14th, which is also on a Monday, which means the traditional markets will be open, and it's the day after the full moon this month, during that full moon energy, and also during the shadow period after Mercury stations direct again, which is tomorrow, by the way. Tomorrow is the last day of Mercury retrograde. So let me just quickly jump back into the Mercury retrograde chart. I feel like you all have been really enjoying that analysis because it's powerful. It's been very helpful in allowing us to navigate big moves every single year, multiple times per year, since there is a cyclical pattern for whenever Mercury stations retrograde regarding Bitcoin. So we have something that's very important. I talked about it in my last two videos. It was regarding the post Mercury retrograde time frame and the April full moon, putting a lot of emphasis on the time frame of April 16th into April 17th, when we should probably pivot out of like the final really noticeable bearish energy for the whole market, right? So since Bitcoin has this pattern of moving into a bear trap following the Mercury retrograde time frame, we've seen this happen so many times when Mercury stations direct, which would be the end of all of these red boxes. Then Bitcoin has a correction, like here and here and here and here. It's so many times this happens. We keep going back in the charts, but for now we just want to focus on how things have been going since the bottom of our bear market, right? Since we have so many examples of this, it's showing that Bitcoin likes to have a correction to around 2 weeks later. Sometimes it's as early as 1 week after, and in some instances 3 weeks after, but it's a little bit more rare, with around 2 weeks being the average. And the reason I say bear trap is because you can see the clear pattern where we also follow this shakeout immediately with a pump. And in some cases, we even go higher like we did here, and here, and here. So this is very important to keep in mind because we're still within Mercury retrograde and we're about to move into this phase next. And this is why I wanted to prepare you guys as far in advance as possible. And actually kind of the perfect timing for this Mercury retrograde phase, because once we're through that, then things can be a lot less anxiety driven, a lot less confusing, a lot less deceiving. Remember, Mercury is the trickster, and you combine that Mercury essence, that energy, with an eclipse season, and you get insane volatility. And I get it. A lot of this energy right now that's happening in the markets, that's happening to our portfolios, that's happening to everything that's happening. It's making it very easy to get distracted. It's making it very easy to not focus on your higher purpose. I completely understand. I've been through this many times now. I've had multiple businesses also myself. And now that I have this knowledge and I have this awareness, it's pretty much the best tool we could have is to know that once the whole world is feeling uneasy, once the world is feeling like mass anxiety, that is the perfect opportunity for you to refine yourself, to start taking action to build things that make you more self-reliant, to acquire skills that make you more self-reliant, and to not be so reliant on these markets. These markets and investing should be tertiary in your overall wealth plan. First should be your people, your community, your family. Second should be your business, the way you earn cash flow, the way you share your skills with the world, the way that you're useful to others. Third is investing. And a lot of people have that backwards. But I'm not here to rant about that. I'm just sharing my 2 cents on what I feel will be quite obvious over the next 5 years from today. Because what happened from 2020 to 2025 is we've realized that anyone who took the time to put in the effort to actually build a system instead of wait around for systems to be built for them, those people aren't dealing with the chaos as much as many others are. We all expected hyperinflation. We all expected things to get more expensive. We all expected there to be more automations, layoffs, artificial intelligence, etc. Can't say You didn't hear many people probably say, I told you so, right? It's not just me that's been talking about this. I mean, I've started my channel over 4 years ago now, and this is stuff that I was saying back then, that we really need to take 2023 seriously. 2023 rolled around. Really got to take 2024 seriously. Very few listened because they had this hope that somehow the future will get better. And in reality, it's not that the future gets worse. It's that people get more distracted and more reliant on the systems and less self-reliant. And in that whole transition, they give up their skills. All I'm trying to do with my university is gather those who are interested in acquiring skills, gather those who have skills, and then now we have a community of people that will be self-reliant. And whenever things go quote unquote bad in our world, we won't be too concerned. This is a very important nuance here, and I wish more people would wake up to this. So I'm just going to finish off what I'm saying right now, the stream of consciousness, with I'm reminding you that when everyone's feeling peak fear, everyone's feeling a lot of uncertainty, this is the best time to invest in yourself, into systems that will allow you to gather more skills and be around people who care to acquire skills. Because the chart staring and the watching the candlesticks go up and down all day, every day, forever, that's not you serving your purpose. You're just leaking your prana. And only you can change your life. Only you can make your life better. This is something I realized the 2 times throughout my life where I had businesses that did not do so well. It's all about how you respond instead of react. If something goes wrong, what do you do to adjust? What do you do to refine? What do you do to show your resilience? And it's those who are resilient who become successful. So, getting back to this Mercury retrograde analysis, the last 6 Mercury retrogrades, not including the one we're in now, Bitcoin moved up 40 days after Mercury went direct, or it was already up by around day 40. Funny enough, Mercury in Gematria equals 40. And plus 40 days from tomorrow, which will be the 7th, let me show you where this puts us. Right into around May 16th, which is perfect because that is right after the full moon in May. Remember, lately, we've actually been getting the worst market after new moons. Like, we've been dumping heavy after new moons, bottoming around new moons. And regardless of eclipse season, the full moons have been higher lows, which is kind of awesome to know this. But it's been that pattern now for over a year and a half now. So this isn't like a brand new pattern. It's not a brand new thing. Let me just check my mic, make sure it's good. Now, I think this is perfect timing because it actually aligns nicely with everything that we've been talking about for the past 2 red pills. Again, another reason why I am more confident that within this month of April that we're in right now, we should be concluding our bottoming structure for Bitcoin and likely many top market cap altcoins as well, including XRP, ETH too. Probably Solana, very likely, BNB, a couple others. Obviously, when I say what I'm saying, I just wanted to be specific by saying top market cap altcoins because we could always have stuff in the 50 to 100, 200 market cap rank. Could be living in its own world. Anyways, I believe most of you know this already. Point that I'm making is that most of the market moves with Bitcoin, but we still have Bitcoin dominance so high. We just hit 63% recently, which was another thing I was calling for. So, are we going to 64? Probably. Are we going to 65% Bitcoin dominance? Yes, most likely. Are we going to go all the way up to 70? Depends. But we could be going all the way up to 70 while Bitcoin's also recovering, and we could also see all altcoins go up 200 to 300% in the process too. So having Bitcoin dominance go up isn't necessarily the end of the world for altcoins. It's when Bitcoin corrects and Bitcoin dominance goes higher and USDT dominance goes higher, that's when we see more lows and more sell-off coming for the alt market. So all in all, we should have USDT dominance pretty much topping very soon. And actually, there's a couple things we have to mention. But let's get through a couple things first because we're still in the midst of our decode and have some powerful stuff to talk about. But I hope I remind myself to revisit the M2 global liquidity index. We've been talking about that quite a bit lately with the 105-day offset. This is something I covered maybe 3 red pills ago because I got a lot of people reaching out to me asking about it. So I'm going to hope I remember. Let me pull that up just so it's there. Okay, boom. Good, good. We're looking at Mercury retrograde analysis. I really want to finish this up because first, before we entertain what things could be like in the middle of May, we do have the shadow period for Mercury retrograde, which could technically last until around April 21st through the April full moon in Scorpio. And like I mentioned last week, and some moments ago, in some iterations, we've seen this bear trap conclude 1 week after Mercury retrograde. So right here, Mercury stations direct. We have about 7 days we bottom, and then we pushed back up to the top of the horizontal trading range pretty damn quick, guys. We topped 23 weeks later. So when we take from the end of Mercury retrograde to the recovery phase, we were back up to where we were at the highs of our horizontal trading range 1 month later, 28 days later, 4 weeks. All right. So here we could see an example of it took a little bit more time. It's about 3 full weeks, but still we pushed up. Here we pushed up. Here, I think this was the week example. So this took about 10 days, a little bit over a week, still within the shadow period. Over here, this was the last iteration that we have to review. It's about 2 weeks, and then we did have a little bit of a W pattern, double top. But still, you're seeing that we like to retest prior highs. Now, I'm not entirely sure that we can go all the way back up to 106 by the end of April into early May. Would that be, I mean, I do gotta say though, like with how shitty it's been and how bearish everyone's getting and how fearful it is, like when I see this, I'm like, why not? Bitcoin went from 78 to 95 in like 2 candles. Like, why not, right? Well, why not at this point, And what would the difference be getting back into this 97 range? It would be the slightest difference of move. So all we would need is some major liquidity moving in. And it could be as simple as the exoteric narrative saying, oh, all these countries that are getting strong-armed by Trump right now just start to give in, whatever. Or there's some like free trade thing that goes down. I saw something around X today that was talking about this. Like, Daddy Elon was talking about the like free trade agreement with the EU, and like just that would send the market, like it could be the slightest little thing. Who cares? Really what I'm trying to reveal here is there's something exoteric that they're going to push out to you, but you knew the energetics in advance because that's what we're covering here. You knew that we would have this type of chop during Mercury retrograde. Why? Because we always get it. You knew that we would at least have correction into this Mercury retrograde coupled with the lunar cycle starting. I've always talked about that. It's been like 1.5 years of talking about that. The depth of the correction we saw with the altcoins was definitely not expected. Seeing Bitcoin dominance hold 60% throughout this whole move and there being no push up in alts, that was not expected. But generally, all of these energetics for this time frame of March, April was expected. Talked about in everything I've released. So that one nuance of not having Bitcoin dominance keel over and not having a significant move in the altcoins in general, that was definitely the wild card in the situation. And the fact that we're holding these levels right now and the crash that we saw on Friday close for the traditional markets did not affect Bitcoin and the crypto market pretty much at all. And I think we saw about $30 billion enter the crypto market as there was an insane amount of money that left. Maybe two trillion just last week from the stock market. Might be even more. I'm not sure. I think there's been 10 trillion total since Trump's been inaugurated has left the stock market, give or take. I'm talking trillion with a T. It's fucking crazy, guys. So yeah, that was a really nice thing to see, and I think it has a lot to do with the energetics. I don't want to get off the rails here. I want to stay on track. We're about halfway through today's podcast. So I did mention this bear trap concept. We're going to follow up on that a little bit later when we get into the Bitcoin specific analysis, but I've told you earlier in the podcast too. So you have that on your minds. Expect after Mercury goes direct, even if we were to get a little push up like this, it could be followed by a move right back to our structural lows, somewhere around 80K. Okay? So the last thing I wanted to share for this decode section actually ties back to tomorrow, the date that Jim Cramer was saying is going to be a repeat of Black Monday, Monday, April 7th. So I want you to consider something that I've already taught you, which is the 97th day of the year for tomorrow. Brought this up many times. This 97 code is significant for this year because we're in the year of the snake, and the snake is the serpent 97 code. And also we're covering crypto, and that has 97 as well in the same cipher. And the mirror of 97 is 79. And Donald Trump turns 79 this year. And I'm really surprised I forgot to talk about this in my year of the snake decoded, but here it is. I wanted to share this gem with you. Although some of you might just be seeing this podcast tomorrow, that's completely fine. But the fact that Trump turns 79 this year on June 14th in a couple months, and the 79th element in the periodic table is gold, 79. This is where it gets wild. The atomic mass of gold is 196. And if we take 196 days after tomorrow, look at where this brings us to. October 10th, or October 19th, excuse me. That's the 38th anniversary of Black Monday. Like, what? So this is crazy to me. We have the 38th anniversary of Black Monday coming up, and these 2 days are 196 days apart, tied perfectly to gold. Crazy. Now, this is where it gets even weirder. We're talking about the 38th anniversary of Black Monday. What does gold equal in Gematria? 38. Remember, Trump keeps saying he's ushering in a new golden age. He just introduced this gold card. It's like an upgraded green card. It's a $5 million immigration card that's gold, and it has his face on it. Mamma mia. So, of course, we also have gold is rallying to new all-time highs week after week after week, and we'll cover that chart in a moment. So we really need to pay attention to gold. We need to pay attention to Trump's next birthday, because last year, his birthday, I was using all the time to determine events tied to him, even almost assassination day stuff. So yeah, this is really, really important, guys. This 38 code, as well as the mirror number, which is 83. Remember, 38,000 points was where the Dow crashed to into Friday's close. We had Bitcoin closing at 83K on Satoshi's 50th birthday, the Jubilee number. 83 is really important in all of this because it's the 23rd prime number, and Bitcoin equals 23 in Chaldean. Then, of course, we still need to keep the number 97 in mind. We have the 97th day of the year tomorrow. We have the mirror number 79 tied to gold, tied to Trump's birthday this year. This 97-79 thing is something I actually pointed out when I released my Year of the Snake Decoded here on Patreon in January at the start of the year. I just didn't consider Trump turning 79, or at least I don't remember bringing that up. So pretty crazy stuff. Since tomorrow is April 7th, the 97th day of the year, and we know that 33 code is incredibly important for our decodes, then this means tomorrow can be absolutely wild price action, as it's tied to our total lunar eclipse that we just passed through, the one that starts the lunar cycle, and they are 3 weeks and 3 days apart. So 3 weeks and 3 days after the Pi Day eclipse is this April 7th day, tomorrow. And 24 is going to show up in a moment, because the whole decode today, we're talking about the number 38, right? And remember, esoterically, the number 38 is 3 8s. 8 plus 8 plus 8 equals 24. 24 days is 3 weeks and 3 days, your 33 code. Everything comes full circle, because when we include the end date, we have 25 days apart, and that's the number of this Gregorian year. And the Hebrew year we're in of 5,785, when you add those numbers together, you get 25, and 97 is the 25th prime number We're talking about 25 days after the start of our lunar cycle. So I am definitely expecting a very extreme market environment tomorrow. And it could be something actually like where we have a massive tail to the downside that gets bought right back up into our horizontal structure. So now that I've brought up that theory, let's get into the charts to see the setup for the week ahead, starting with the traditional markets. We'll get through those before going back into the crypto market. So we want to look at the Dow Jones, take this step by step. Isn't this insane? This correct, like, let me look at real quick. The total correction now is about 15% on the nose. And I do believe I talked about this in my recent update, how we're now within about 4% of testing the all-time high that came in before the 2022 bear market, which was within the Shemitah year. And you could see from the start of the sabbatical year, we topped in January like we usually do, and then we came down perfectly to the end of the Shemitah, exactly to the end of the sabbatical year before a reversal into a new bull run, an even crazier bull run, by the way. Why? Because this was your Jubilee from here 2022 to September 2023. That 1 year time frame of recovery, once we got through, Jubilee year was over. We had the October 7th event in Israel, and then market just goes crazy, including gold, which was suppressed for how long? Yes, that's why a 50-year cycle is so important. And I know that this year is the Vatican's Jubilee. Well, that's different. It's definitely not the same. All right, using a completely different calendrical system as well. And I'm not saying it's not important or not powerful. It serves its own purpose. But I think this type of stuff was where my channel started. This is really like what made the foundation for Waters Above. This is what kind of put me on the map, was talking about all this stuff back here. Because, yeah, I mean, I started my channel when the stock market was 32,000 points. Called this area. Then we also called the end of the Shemitah on Coach JV's channel, 3T Warrior Academy, and we called the Jubilee year to be a good time, to be a recovery time. Catholic Jubilee, very different. We had Catholic Jubilee in 2000, the year 2000, which was the top of the dot-com bubble. So yeah, why do you think I've been bringing up so often with the S&P analysis the dot-com bubble crash? Because that was also during the year of the snake, when we had this Shemitah year between 2000 and 2001 overlaying. I'll get to that in a moment. But for now, we're pretty damn close to coming right back to the top of our last bull cycle before the bear market. This is powerful. This means that we could absolutely wick down, fill out this whole area, and we could even do it in a day. Why not? The thing here, though, is how does a relief rally come in? Well, we got to make it through this energetic time frame, which I believe we saw a lot of information just from our decode that this upcoming week is the week to keep in mind. We have it being the 15th week of the year. This number 15 has been something I've been tracking since I started my channel. It likes to associate with money quite a bit. I know that we were talking a lot about this in the beginning of my channel 4 years ago, how moon gives you the 1551, moon money, right? Moon eye. This is the basics, right? But we have the 15 coming up a lot. So I think this 15th week of the year is going to be something. It kicks off with this very powerful date, and then it kind of finishes off into the tax deadline, which also has some exoteric, reasons why the market does what it does. But needless to say, we are free fall speed crashing. And when we look at the RSI, where it is right now, it's the lowest level we've seen since the C19 crash. So when I hold my cursor right here, you could look to the left. We almost got there in 2023 in October, which, by the way, was the Israel-Palestine thing. Then we have over here September 2022, which was the bottom of the bear market. We're fucking lower than the bottom of the bear market. It's crazy. It's crazy. And here we are with the C19 crash, historic crash. When we go back further than that, I mean, you start to not see this be too popular. Getting an RSI read this low. What is it, 23? Yeah, it's 23.55. You could look right there now. Yeah, we're free fall speed. Now, you could see a couple trend lines on the screen, nothing too fancy. I'm not trying to overload this thing, but every time we get below this white line, we tend to be in a bottoming phase. Like we get to historic low levels. So if I just zoom out to the past, Shemitah over here, Chinese stock market crash sell off. We can see we got below the line, got below it again. Nice W pattern, amazing buying opportunity because just within a couple months, you were back up 15%. Within the same year, you were back up 17%. Guys, you need to understand 1 year later, if you're up 26% in the stock market, do you understand how good you did? So just look at this white line and look at our relationship with it. Okay? This is very C19 like, very exaggerated. Why? It was the fucking bottom of the housing market crisis. So this white line is pretty legit. I mean, we'll stop there. But every time we get lower than this, it's not to call bottoms. It's not to be a perfect bottom trend line. It's to say that we get very oversold and we like to bounce from this area. Does it mean it's the absolute bottom? We're going to move into a new bear market or new bull run? Not necessarily. But this is kind of like where we start to anticipate relief rally. And also the fact that we have this level between here and all the way down at around 37. Just consider that tapping back on a prior resistance level is normal, technically. And it doesn't need to happen on a daily close. It could be a tail to the candle, and then we get bought back up. So keep that in mind. Now let's look at the S&P. Also, I want to try to see if there's a couple of crazy, fell through all these levels. So I'm going to open this up even more. Year of the Snake looking just fucking juicy. Looking juicy. Let me turn off the RSI. So let me get back to here. Okay, so we came through one of the very powerful trend lines because you can see once we bounce from the overall teal trend line that I've been keeping on my chart for a while, it's similar to the white trend line you were just looking at with the Dow Jones. Here you can see that we have now returned back to, wow. Yeah, the way this is falling is like it's going all the way back to April last year. 1 year ago, all the gains. Stock market is wild, man. We don't see this shit too often. So like I'm reacting this way because it's rare. It's not normal. And it's tied to a narrative. You should be salivating. You should be excited. You should be excited. Okay, so where now we've clearly broke one of the key support trend lines. It is what it is, right? But the speed of this fall is pretty dramatic. Slice through the 1618 that we had up. I actually kind of like the area of 4,800 points. Only reason is because of this. So we had the top, we had a little bit of this kind of like chop before release, but that final chop is good from a technical perspective because you can see we were holding this rising support line for a bit from November 2023 all the way to quite recently. So a long time, that's not just a year. So 450 days. So that area of interest is like about as crazy as I see this getting. If we are to come all the way back to this line right now, I think that's a little too quick. It's a little too quick for that type of crash. But you can see the relationship with this blue line and how it goes all the way back in time. A really wild trend line. Also kind of experimental for sure. This isn't to be perfect with bottoms. It's just to show like if we do return back to this level, it's historic and we should buy that dip. Obviously here with the C19 crash, we sliced through it so dramatically, it would have been very tough, but we also have horizontal levels to keep in mind. So if I was to hold my cursor here, you can see this V-shaped recovery was an area that we pretty much only backtested for a couple of days and we were bought back up, right? So yeah, that's really dramatic territory over here to return back to so quickly, the speed of which we've done it. And it's akin to the C19 crash. Hence why you see RSI at these levels today. Another thing we would want to look for is in this relief rally essence, we're not sure where the market's going to open up tomorrow, if it's going to open up clean or if we're going to have some like news show up out of nowhere. And that news is like super positive stuff. And this was all just a big bear trap or to just get people out of their positions, like a actual purposeful shakeout with narrative tied to it. This now shows you that our golden pocket is still kind of in the same posture as before. So any prior analysis where I was sharing the 5,800 level, it's still not much of a difference. It would be around 5,800 still. You know, maybe not 6,000, but I was also saying that to everyone. I do not expect us to come back to 6,000 on a relief rally unless it's a full-blown V-shaped recovery, which, by the way, C19 crash was a V-shaped recovery, and you look from left to right, we did get higher than it within the same year. We got higher than the prior peak of February. This would be mind-blowing, okay? And I guess for those that believe in a 4-year cycle, that's how it would align. Just make sure my mic is working good. Let's get over to the NASDAQ. Oh no, actually really quick, because I brought up the S&P. Remember with the dot-com bubble crash, it pivoted around April 3rd, April 4th. So we're going even deeper than this right now. Look at this shit. We pivoted on April 4th. We went even lower on April 4th recently. So this is getting rough. And you can see this was a 21% correction back then. Let's look at what a 21% correction would look today, which, by the way, we have a much, 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 much higher market cap right now. So, and way more money in this market and way more credit in this market. So far, it's been 17%. Look at that. If we got back to this green line, which I was showing you is the top of the prior bull cycle. Also, I brought this up in my update. That would be as deep as that correction got back in the 2001 sell-off, which just continued its bear market further and further to the downside after the relief rally that was planted by April, planted in the lows by April. So keep that in mind. NASDAQ. Wow. Okay, NASDAQ came back to a critical level because this was something I had in my charts before. Turn off all the noise. It's a little noisy on these charts. My apologies, guys. I want to look at a couple indicators. Where's our 200 at? My goodness. So you can see the 200 was a major support on every bounce except for here. Once we broke below it and then we got a quick rally back and that rejection, that is like GTFO vibes. So yes, we tanked lower. Crazy that this move didn't affect the crypto market pretty much at all, like barely. Crypto's pretty much mostly sold off in advance. And this is actually something I maybe talked about last month with regards to crashing structures, is like we tend to bottom quicker in crypto, so it's more painful, but it's like a rip the band-aid off style vibe, especially for Bitcoin. With the traditional markets, it could take a lot longer. We all know this. You see now when I take off all the noise, like we've even gotten lower than this move right here, which was a green day that followed by a relief rally that pushed us even higher afterwards. So obviously it's kind of similar where we're peaking here, quick harsh rejection. I'm kind of feeling that Monday could be like this too, because you see it was also a Monday, August 5th. It would not be weird for us to do that, even if we were to go lower. Like, we can start the day all the way down here. Like, seriously, we can start the day here at 16.6 tomorrow and get fucking bought all the way back up and clean off the day at 17.8. Like, an insane move, you know? So look, crazy move right there for us to pivot off of that and then have just a short W retest of the lows, back test this level right there, clean bounce. Hard to say though, really hard to say, because why? Because we have thin air all the way down to 16.5. We have thin air down to 16 technically. So yeah, stock market is overvalued. We know this. It needed this. Why we're getting it right now? Well, it's a March April timeframe. Year of the snake. This is what they do. Russell is beaten and bruised. Let me look at the total percentage. 27%, guys. Do you understand this? 27%. Bitcoin is like what, 30% on the nose? That's fucking crazy. Bitcoin's had a 30% correction on the nose, and then we have the Russell with a 27% move. It's like it almost doesn't feel that bad to hold Bitcoin and XRP right now. Like it feels like nice. So yeah, this is insane. Russell's just given back everything, and it's right back into this horizontal trading range that it was chopping through for all of 2022 to yeah, all of 2022 and 2023. Those 2 years return right back to it. So yeah, this is a very dramatic structure, and the problem here is when you get these major gaps and you have really not a whole lot below you for some years, you could retest lower levels very rapidly. I am confident though with the Russell that we're finding a lot of support here in this like 1650, 1700 zone, and the fact that that was the top of January, February of 2020 before the C19 crash, that'd be a very, very, very good level for us to retest if this wanted to get worse. So I'm going right there. Boom. Okay. This was major. The recovery, once we broke through that, it was price discovery. You see the return, boost. We can come straight back to this level. And that would be an additional sell-off of 8%. And it won't happen. It could happen in a couple days, but we could just open the market with a bigger gap tomorrow. And a part of me almost feels like that could be the case. Like tomorrow, unless they float out some like random last minute thing, we could open here. Just open super, super in the red. And that could be the basing structure that bottoms out. I do think that it would go something like that, where we could open here and then maybe like June. Holy moly. Yeah, there's so much data in such a short time frame. Sorry. Maybe something like that before September. Yeah, right into the golden pocket. This move like would be probably kicked in along with M2, which I do need to. Let me take a note. Let me take a note, guys. M2 note taken. Okay. Yeah, Russell, let me see. I think just providing you with the support line is good enough for right now. And then we have this level right here, which is a very stubborn level. It's going to be very stubborn to get back above. So this whole area is chop zone for the Russell. Let's finish this off with the US dollar index. 1 second, guys. Okay. Make sure my mic is good. Yes, we're good. And we're looking at the DXY. Up 1% last trading day. All right, so also back into this horizontal chop. This structure that we're getting right here is actually nice to see, because although we're getting some support in the prior horizontal trading ranges 888 fib level, that doesn't mean that this could continue to just rally and spike all the way back up to 109 again. This can be trapped at the lows for some time as well, because obviously this is very narrative driven. This is a very dramatic environment. So I like looking back at this major horizontal trading range that kicked in like, let's just say 2014 or 2015, and we're still in it till today. Okay. So you see that spike up over there from the C19 crash time frame all the way up to October 2022. Look at the level it was perfectly hit, the 1618, the golden ratio. So this fib is pulled from the December 2016 highs down to the February 2018 lows. We got back there, kind of like a spring vibe, a little bit of a test, major move to the upside. It's like it didn't have any structure. It was just a rally, like a parabolic advance. Then we came back to the 888 fib. You see it right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. And then we also had multiple back tests on the top of the golden pocket. That's really nice to see, because that was a rejection level over here, and over here. So if I turned off all the noise, you'll see what I mean. Boom, boom, boom. Major rejection level. Now we're back testing. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so what I think will happen at some point is we will get all of this negative tariff bullshit out of the way, and we could see the dollar come back to the 97 zone. And I'm thinking, we got the 79th birthday of Trump. We got the 97 with the connection with gold. We have the 79 with the connection with gold. We have all this gold talk. We have gold rallying. So that wouldn't shock me. And that would be sort of like what sends us into that final move before a much, much bigger correction to come. Like we're talking about a 30% correction for the NASDAQ total. We're talking about the potential for Bitcoin to go down to even the low 50K zone, maybe back to 48K, 47K, or even 52K. So what we mean by that is a rise up, not for the DXY, but Bitcoin to have this move where we come back to this territory perhaps by May of the LPS into the SOS, June, July, we should be getting up to around 115K Bitcoin. 115 to 120 is what I'm expecting before September. Okay. Then after that would be a massive sell-off, right? The traditional sell-off that we typically see. By the way, as I record this, the traditional markets are closed. So Bitcoin's just kind of chopping around right now. And I believe there'll be a CME gap to the upside when we open Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So this right now, what we're seeing also chop into a very important level. I think tomorrow will be telling somewhat, but we have like all the way until the next FOMC meeting to see that potential breakdown kick in to the 97 level. And I think we could get there probably before September. It's a little extreme. I know it's an extreme call. I think seeing below 100 is also seemingly extreme, but you got to remember the speed at which this could all happen could be quick just because of this market environment that we're in right now. Also kind of me putting myself on the line by saying that, but it's a thought that I've had that we had this major spike up. I wouldn't be shocked if we have a major spike down and then we get a actual true recovery structure into 2026. 2026 with an even deeper stock market correction. And yeah, well, we've talked about that for a while now. So let's get over to gold. 2% down, but we've had a major move up. So gold has hit the 2618. It's crazy. So that fib level is pulled from here to here. We got the top of August 2020 after the C19 crash, and then we went sideways all the way until September 2022 into November 2022, and then we pushed through this. This whole move right here, coming up to the 2618, is actually quite overheated, I gotta admit. And when I zoom out over here, you're gonna see where this 1618 sits is in this larger horizontal trading range, which is from 2011 down to the swing low of 2015. So you see where this 1618 is? It's already passed through that. So I think we're probably getting pretty overheated now on gold. Gold rallying for this long is not except for obviously when the ETF was on. But look over here of the rally time from the lows. How long did that take? About 707 days. I would align oh shit. Whoa. Okay, look. September 2018 plus 700 days. This was September 2022. Yeah, we are past due. We are going further now. So, yeah, this is a wild thing to see. Gold's doing very, very well right now because everything else is shit. Congratulations to gold. That's typically the case, right? But what went on when we had the gold ETF launch? We had CHOP, a big rise into 2006. It took about 2 years or 546 days. It's been a minute since I've considered this. Let's get over to a Bitcoin chart and see if we were to go from when the Bitcoin ETF launched, which was over here in January of 2024. And what was it? 500 days. Ooh. Sorry, guys, I forgot. 546. Shit, I mean, the guess was close. So we have the launch and approval of the first Bitcoin ETF. We have about 550 days after is when? Read it with me. July 2025. I keep saying July, August, before the September lunar eclipse. Guys, that'd be fucking crazy. That'd be crazy if we were to mimic that and then go into this major correction sideways for another, like a minute and then another top. Yeah, man, this might be like literally what Bitcoin will do forever. So it's really tough for me to entertain like a $400,000 Bitcoin or a $500,000 Bitcoin right now. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Bitcoin could only get up to like 120, 130. Then we have a 40% correction instead of a 70% correction. And then we continue to rally. I showed everyone this with the post.com bubble Amazon and Apple chart. So if anyone remembers whatever red pill I covered that in, feel free to share it. It would be very useful. But that's kind of what I see happening for Bitcoin moving forward. No other altcoins, just Bitcoin. And this gold ETF launching could very well be the way it goes down for Bitcoin. But as of right now, gold is overheated. I'm going to be honest with everyone. Gold is overheated. It is due for a little bit of a correction, although I do think we can go higher. Not now though. I'm feeling like this is like an environment where this thing can't just keep going up in a straight line. It's only going up in a straight line because of the shit that's going on right now in the traditional markets. And because Bitcoin right now has already priced in everything from the euphoria of the launch of the ETF initially last year. All of that's been priced in till Bitcoin hit 100K milestone. Whatever Michael Saylor's doing, all that shit's irrelevant. The point that I'm getting to is like now that we've already priced most of that in, it's going to take a lot of liquidity to see Bitcoin push up another leg higher. So we would need the Fed to do QE, or we need something to come in to sort of rescue all of this. And with Trump being very vocal about Bitcoin and talking about their plans to accumulate, I mean, the moment that the US government says like, yeah, we're buying Bitcoin, send it. You know the way everyone will react to that, right? It's one thing to say that you're making a stockpile, crypto, strategic reserve, whatever, but it's another thing to be like, we are buying XRP, we are buying Cardano, we are buying Bitcoin. If they did that announcement, that's all you need. 120K Bitcoin probably within a couple weeks, right? It's not my opinion. I think that's just very much how it can go. We know we could get to 109. Imagine what we could do with just the random announcement of Trump saying something like that. So let's get over to, actually, let's finish up with some of the levels. If we were to have an immediate correction for gold, I think 2,800 back testing the 1618 and this peak right here is very normal price action. It would kind of be like this back test over here, although we didn't get the full return back to this 1618 fib. This is a more long-term 1618 fib because it's a fib pull that started back over a decade ago. So we like to overextend above the golden ratio and backtest the top of the golden to backtest the golden ratio during a price discovery breakout. So just keep that in mind. How far above we extend is up to the asset. With gold in this case, we got about 11% higher. With an altcoin, we could go 40% higher, right? And then it kind of does something like this, which, by the way, this is a crazy trend line that you see, the blue one, the dark blue. So this is from the peak back in 1979 into 1980. We got the rejection perfectly here in August 2011. And you see here, we've broke through that shit. So a backtest level aligning with here would be, I think, solid. And it doesn't need to happen immediately. This could take some time. But if it was to happen fast, I do actually think it would bode well for crypto. Because all of this market cap leaving gold and going into Bitcoin and going into the USDT be nuts. That's very likely to be a case. If you were to track the way precious metals have traded over the years with Bitcoin and the altcoin market, you would see what I mean. Let's look at silver, and I'll be brief with this because silver's just chopping. Yeah, there's really not much to say here, but this level right here of 28.38, so around 28.50 per ounce silver, has been an area of interest. And every time we get close to the 888, we have some trouble. So that's been the case pretty much forever, right? And this trend goes back to 1980. Also, showing you how silver was $47 back then. It was $47 in 2011, and now we're sitting at 29. So the whole idea here is that there'll be some sort of squeeze, and then eventually silver will go up much, much more. But it seems that we're in the gold. Being in the gold play is a little bit more intelligent, although it's not to say that it's wrong to hold silver. It's just it has all this volatility, but no release into price discovery. So you want both, which is why most of you like crypto, right? Because you like volatility, but you also like new all-time highs. You like the experience to watch something go higher than it was maybe 4 years ago or 8 years ago. Well, that's not the case in the silver chart, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just letting you know, unless you were trading this thing actively, it would have been hard to hold it unless you were buying very, very long ago. You know, so yeah, like if you bought silver literally a decade ago, you are now finally up 100%. Like, I'll say that again. If you bought silver a decade ago, you were up 100%. You could have just bought like $100 in Bitcoin and you would have outdone all of this probably 100 times. Again, not to compare. It's just this is not really something I'm personally super interested in. It's a reason why I didn't buy any silver in the time frame of last year, because I would have rather just accumulated gold based on the chart. It's a healthier, it's a better chart, and also outperforming a lot. These past 2 years, up 65% into price discovery. I mean, is silver not really doing that well? Let's check. Are we at least? Okay, close. Close. So I take that back. It's close enough to just be a thing where if you could buy this at the right moments, it's fine. Sure. But like, yeah, the fact that off similar levels, gold is still higher ROI, it's definitely something there. Again, it's up to your independent investment thesis. There's nothing wrong with either. You, do what's best for you. Let's move on. Get to Bitcoin. We talked about Bitcoin so much that we don't really need to spend too much time on it, but I do want to address a couple things as well as M2. One of which is we have this major green trend line for Bitcoin. I know it's very noisy here on this chart, guys, but we have the bottom of the bear market. Then we have, this was the only time that Bitcoin spent an extended time below this trend line. Also depends on how you draw this trend line, but whenever we're getting below it, it's very short-lived. And so far, since the correction into the eclipse season, we've actually been also holding this trend line. And as of lately, it's been like almost a week and a half of supporting on that trend line. So that's a very good thing to see. And we know that when we look at RSI, the last time that we had RSI as low as we did recently on the daily, which is down here, was back in the time frame of August 2023, which was the time frame that we were right bottoming into release. Also, this was during Mercury retrograde. So keep that in mind. Once we made it through the Mercury retrograde time frame over here, remember August of 2023, we had one of the rare structures where we didn't go lower into this bear trap that I've been talking about. We did have a correction for sure, but we were just kind of holding this major support line and higher lows. Very nice to see. So oversold RSI, bullish divergence, plus it happening during Mercury retrograde. And I mean, like, I don't think they're the most similar. This structure and this structure, I don't think they're the most similar. I'm like feeling like we might get hit with one of these, right? Where like Bitcoin has this release for like maybe a couple days, and then we go down for the bear trap. I'm just feeling that way now because this market is so narrative driven. It's so choppy and ridiculous. But still, no matter how it turns out, you see that after this, we go there. After this, we go there. Even if it was just one of these where we go to retest, but we come right back to the top of the horizontal trading range. It could happen quick. So I think that there's something to this. There's a method to this madness. But let's get over to the traditional analysis here. Holding this support line very nicely. I want to turn off everything and just focus on the weekly close, which is probably not looking so good. Okay, yeah, not the greatest, but remember, CME is closed right now. Let's get through this. We do have a bottoming structure coming in though, because for the fact that we are now showing that there's very little, or I'll put it like this to keep it simple, because we do need to move on. We are exhausted to the downside. Bitcoin had a 30% correction, and then also the stock market has a huge crash, and we're not seeing further continuation to the downside for Bitcoin. I know I said it earlier, but that's also a sign of exhaustion. So selling pressure is getting exhausted, which means that if this was a Wyckoff accumulation, this would be your selling climax, and we're in the process of moving into an automatic rally. Let me just check right here, and that rally would likely go into May. We've talked about this many times. Let's look at the daily. Let's look at where our moving averages are, and I believe we're far below the 200. Okay, yeah, so we've had the 200s cross. That's not the nicest thing. We've also had this rejection off the 55. That's not the nicest thing, but everything is coiling together. I like to see that, because when I see all of my moving averages like doing this, coiling all together, instead of like here, you see they are all released. Here, they're all coiling together. This posture we've gotten a couple times before, but let me show you the most close to a similar posture. It was here. Why? Because we had the 55 sloping down. We had this dark green 200 moving average, which is the 200 simple, crossing above the light green, which is the 200 exponential that happened back here. So we have that cross. We also have the 55 dropping down. And then we also have, once these are all crossed up, a release. Funny enough, I mean, I don't know if it'll go exactly like this, but after that, we got a major washout. That was the August flash crash, August new moon flash crash, which I've already taught you guys. If we are to get an August new moon flash crash this year, who cares? Because it's going to be in late August. There's so much we can do between now and the 23rd of August. So that's really good to see also when we're aligning that. Also, this posture has happened a couple times before, such as here. So look, we have the dark green crossing above the light green while the 55 is sloping down. We're in this moment right there, or this moment right here. Both had a similar effect coming afterwards, but there's chop. Have we been experiencing chop lately? 100%. Has it been more horrible though? No. So let's look at M2. Promised we would look at that. We're looking at the M2 Global Liquidity Index indicator, and I no longer have it set to 70. I have it on 75 or 105. We looked at it on 70 quite a bit. And if we were to look at it here, we should have already started advancing. So this is a reason why I've been entertaining the 105. But that was my first time ever covering it a couple weeks ago. I looked at both. I looked at the 105 and I looked at the 70, and I was entertaining this also because we knew April could have a little bit more weird, April, May, pivot. So we have right here, if this is to go lower, you can see it coming into late April, which is not as exactly with what I'm anticipating unless we were to have this. So I needed to show you guys this. I needed to, because I'm not the biggest proponent for fractals as like my prime form of analysis, but I think this is crazy. So I hope you guys appreciate what I'm doing here. Over here, we had the start of an eclipse season, a lunar eclipse season, eclipse cycle, I should say. You all know, I talked about late May, June 10th, eclipse, little pump up, come back down. All right, well, Mercury retrograde was happening here too. So let me show you something. I'll show you exactly what I did to get to this information. So we're going to make sure that we could see. By the way, I'm really sorry for the loading time over here. Doing my best, guys. my internet connection. So you can see that Mercury station's direct on June 22nd. So what did I do? I took the fractal from June 22nd, which was right here. Believe it or not, a low flash correction, which would be like aligned with tomorrow. But you see how we still ended green? Okay. Well, I took from there to the top. Let me go over here. So this right here, this fractal starts with the last day of Mercury retrograde at that time. You see we moved up and then we come back down into like early May. Funny enough, it aligns with May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I brought this up in the analysis where I talked about the 2-2 event over here. Then we had the 3-3 event over here. And then we just had the 4-4 event, April 4th with the stock market. And then we have the Cinco de Mayo, the 5-5 date. Well, when I look at the way this fractal aligns with the M2 offset by 102 days, this is pretty cool. Because look at where it pivots and it shows you we start moving up. It's at a very similar time frame. And then you see this dip over here. It's this dip. You see this dip over here. It's this dip. And you see us rise into our peak over here. Then look at the, oh God, I'm so sorry. It's like too many things going on. Delete that, okay? You see it tops at the same time as the fractal. And then it fucking corrects at the same time too. To the same level. Like the same vibe. And then it picks back up again. You see it picks back up again. And this fractal I have topping at 125, 126 in late August, right before the August new moon. So I don't know, man. I'm not trying to say that I have like the crystal ball here, but this would be wild if we repeated 100% exactly what happened in the last time we did this. And this M2 offset by 105 days is just telling us why, like where, and giving us confirmations. So it was this whole move over here. That'd be nuts. Because that would still complete our whole move before the September 7th eclipse. Yep. Also, this shows you that we'd be back retesting all-time highs on, this would really suck, guys. Look at what this would be like. Imagine retesting all-time highs over here in late June, and everyone's like, we're gonna keep going. And then it's like, nope. One more time. Just fuck everyone over. Watch it happen on July 7th, the 7-7 date. Oh my God. That'd be classic. It's just every month, 5-5, 6-6, 7-7. This is wild. I'm gonna move on because I know we gotta use our time. But overlaying the fractal, pretty cool. It shows us some relief. The levels are not something we have to be 100% set in stone on, but it does show us that a return back to 80K could be in the cards. And this whole time frame right here, I'm not 100% set on, but it is in alignment with some fractals that we've seen for the post retrograde time frame, latest 28 days. But let me show you. If we were to measure 40 days over, look at where it brings us. We're back into recovery zone. So we'd be back there around 96K in 40 days. And that was something I also told you before. So let's get over to ETH very quickly. Not a whole lot to cover here. Where's our fractal on ETH? Should be still following it. Be cool if we are. I haven't looked. Here it is. It's fucking crazy, dude. So we're doing the same shit that we did last time. Same. All right, I don't know if we'll pivot like that, but like still come down into June. This shows recovery by July, which I think is totally plausible. It's very in alignment with my overall analysis. Into May, have like a fake off, sell in May, walk away, but it's actually not because it's just going to go much higher. The timing of all of this seems clean to me too. This fractal's from back here. So we had this blow off coming back down 3 times at the bottom. So we had 1 big move, 2 double bottom, W pattern, breakout, release. And Bitcoin dominance was already like done with its whole move by here. We actually haven't even had the Bitcoin dominance move. So this would be something I'd be personally looking forward to. Not a whole lot to say here, although I do need to cover the actual technicals. Is this 382 fib? If we break below that 382, we do have a support coming in at 1550, and I think that would be some of the best buying opportunities for ETH, even though I don't think I'll personally buy any ETH. At this point, like, I would rather not get too invested in this particular project. I'd rather go with more venture capital stuff, just my opinion, or I'd rather buy more XRP. But yeah, here where we're at, I think 1550 would be as low, and that type of flash crash vibe, if we were to get anything like that due to what could go down tomorrow into the rest of the week with the full moon, then yeah, sure. But as of right now, it's seeming that we're pretty exhausted on the sell side. So let's go over to XRP. 209, not looking bad. We're holding. I've been showing this fractal a little bit lately. Really cool fractal. Some people didn't understand what the point of this was, but what I'm showing is that if we were to take the fractal from back here in 2017, we can see this moment is perhaps what we're in right now, where we had our major release and then we're just stuck in some chop, and this chop could be what we're dealing with today. Also, the way this keels over like that does feel like the way this went down. And we have a couple of these supports perfectly aligning with what we saw back then too. So it's not far off. And it does show you a relief into May around 286, coming back down into early May, maybe around the May full moon. And then right there, we do start this recovery structure with a major release into July. And the fact that it is into July, it makes me feel, oh, well, that would be kind of how XRP likes to break out, right? If Bitcoin is going to be back at all-time highs by July, well, then what do you think XRP will do? Well, look at the XRP chart from before. XRP was at 55 cents when Bitcoin was already breaking into price discovery. Bitcoin was in price discovery here already. Okay, guys? It was already by the mid-November time frame, it was already trading into all-time highs. But XRP was still lower than the prior 2 years peaks. So what I mean by this is all we need is Bitcoin to break into 110, get to 112, 113, and you can see another straight line breakout for XRP, and it would probably be in the same time frame. Now, for the height of this move, that would be wild. If we can get this whole thing, I don't want to give any hopium right now. I want to focus on the short term just because that's what we're in and that's what we're keeping up with week by week. You know, some people are like, well, you don't need to worry about the short term because, like, well, guys, we're in a major market correction, in a major opportunistic environment. Whether that be you investing in yourself or you investing in your into altcoins, whatever it is, like, this is a big opportunity time frame because you're seeing the whole world become very, very scared. Okay, I prefer to invest in myself with my crypto investments. I did most of that shit all 2022, 2023, 2024. I'm over it now. I'm playing with a little bit of stuff here and there, but I'm not going to be putting everything in during a mid-cycle correction in the end of the cycle, right? The hope is that we get the relief rally. I am anticipating it, but I wouldn't bet everything on it. You know, there's still that chance that it just continues to unravel more and more, although I don't feel like that's as much the case. Still, what we're looking at across the board is stock market's getting pummeled right now. XRP is holding $2. So I like this. I just can't give too much more of an update because of the fact that we're still in the same trading range. So let's move on to XPR. Let me see. I don't know why I didn't have that in my chart. Ooh, let me get over here. Proton. All right, we got some chart history here, boys and girls. Boys and ladies. No lady boys, I hope. All right, so we have this chart going back to 2021. Let me make sure this is the good chart. Oh, this goes back even further. Fuck. So is this real? This shit just has been perpetually in price discovery to the downside. Can you guys confirm that for me? I mean, the chart history is here. I don't like to see that. So this paints a different picture, right? This makes it look like not as bad. This makes it look very bad. right? Same peak at 53 cents, or no, sorry, 0.53, 0.5. Okay, I'm going to look at this one just for now. Kind of get a sense of what's happening, but I wanted to show you that this is the actual all-time chart. This doesn't look so great. We'll save both. Down about 8% today on XPR. Selling off, but it's holding support at the 382 fib. I actually like to see that. So when we have from the peak to the swing low, we can see that we've gotten rejected off the 0.5. What we would hope now is to get into the golden pocket, although we don't have a ton of time trading there. So just keep that in mind. Back testing this peak, it would be technically what you'd want. We don't have to get there, but let's see how much of this mid-cycle correction we've had. 65%. It's not that bad. We've had 80% on some projects. So yeah, we're in the midst of this mid-cycle correction. It's holding up pretty nicely, holding on a very important fib level and a level that we back tested, which was kind of the make or break territory before entering the bear market. The depths of the bear market, I should say. But we do have this level right here. So this is your automatic rally, your spring vibe. This is your SOS. Now you're in like a backup phase. So we can look to get something like this. Okay, if it doesn't have the best, yeah, like a middle finger, but it's like just your head and shoulders type thing. That territory right there is where most things go to if it's going to have a lackluster bull run. So where are we headed? Somewhere around a 300 to 400% move. That's great. We would need obviously a full-blown alt season for this thing to come back to prior all-time highs and for it to enter. Well, it technically wouldn't be all-time highs because we have this chart over here showing us a different story. So yeah. This level right there is problematic around the 888 fib, and that's very normal, by the way. But you can see all of this cluster over here, big spike through here, and once we broke down through here, that was pretty much lights out. So that 18, let's call it 19-cent level, is tough. 19 cents, why is it saying, why do I want to say 19 cents? 0.19, so right below 2 cents, apologies. Right below 2 cents is where like things can get really sketchy. So I wouldn't even put take profits there, although that would be almost a 450% move. So would be sick. Definitely nice to have such a thing, but there's probably better opportunities out there with better looking charts. But I'm not trying to persuade anyone differently. I know you guys love to do your own investment research, which I love about this community. You know, you guys know a lot more about certain things that I have no clue about. So keep exercising that curiosity. Don't take what I'm saying as like, oh, this is a bad chart, so that means it's a bad investment for you right now, because anything could pivot at any moment. You know, that's kind of what we're dealing with here. So yeah, I do think structurally there's an opportunity to break out of all of this. We need an alt season though, but this would be my territory where I would have some de-risking done. You know, also that's what aligns with what I teach in my crypto or in my exit strategy blueprint. Like around 400%, you're doing pretty fucking awesome. So de-risk. De-risking is getting back your initial investment. So I like that. The XPR play gets you to de-risking territory at a very technical level, and then the fact that we have this falling parallel channel, which could very well be broken into the next major move for the altcoins, it doesn't look so bad now. But when you look at a chart that's been in price discovery to the downside since inception, that's not great, right? Because where was Bitcoin trading in April of 2020? It was trading at $4,000 or $5,000. Bitcoin is $83,000 today. So you couldn't have possibly felt good holding this. It's just been a trading opportunity the whole time. Again, just honesty. Now we're moving into one where people really want to know my thoughts. This is called SPX 6900. It sounds like a bad post-apocalyptic movie where like an AI robot mans a spaceship that's controlling human beings to a slave planet they will live the rest of their lives in. That's what SPX 69000 sounds like. It sounds like the name of the vessel. They take. I'm just joking, guys. Don't take this shit seriously. Okay, so we have a little bit of a crown top over here. Bellissimo. So we have a little bit of a crown top over here. Noticeable support bounce. Nice grind back to the heartline, and then we made it back to this double top. not a clean double top, it's just an M pattern breakdown. And since this M pattern has topped back at the start of the year, we've had a overall 85% correction. So this is pretty toasted, but I love the fact that we got back above this major support line in the overall parallel channel. So what does this mean? This is like a Wyckoff, the start of Wyckoff accumulation all over again. Although from a distribution perspective, you do have to be careful. Why? Because there is no chart history here. So Waters Above is saying, what am I looking at right now? I have no data to work with. Now, I know you guys love me looking at new charts. You like me looking at stuff that perhaps you learned about from other people out there in the internet. But I have to be real with you. When I don't have much of a chart to look at, I can't do too much of my magic. I don't have much mojo to sprinkle here. So I could do my best. I'm just being honest with you. But this is tough when I don't have much to work with. So all in all, we've had a major drawdown of 85%. That's good enough for me. That feels like a full-blown selling climax from a buying climax. Now, as this is likely the completion of an automatic rally, what we do need to do is pull a fib right here, swing high to swing low, see where this 236 is, and guess what? It's right there, right around this key level of 40 cents. So we want to hold that, because if we can't, we will drop down for a double bottom. The time between here and here could be just as fast as here to here, which is days. So really tough to call when something has had the buyback like this, and we're still below the 0.5 fib, because this could turn into a dead cat bounce, right? You come up to the 0.5 fib off of a large correction, and then you make a lower low. Why could we do this? Well, anything could do this. Trump coin did this, and no one thought it would. And I remember people arguing with me about this shit. It was sad that people argued with me about this because they believed in Trump. And I was trying to tell them this has nothing to do with Trump. He's the guy that just caught you in his web. God damn, this is at $10 now. So what I'm talking about is this. Major sell-off, rally lower high, and then you break down lower. This is no bueno. Wow, this thing is lower than I even thought. Shitcoin. Why did people waste their fucking money on this? So what is this down? 87%. This is bad, bro. The fact that this is riding this line and now it's broke below that, where is the support? There is none. This thing can literally drop back to $5. This will probably be $1 by the end of the year. I wouldn't even be surprised. This can be literally $1 by the end of the year. December, like January 1st, 2026, this could be $1. And then people just held and held and held for nothing. Wild. Anyways, who cares? Back to this. SPX 6900, not much chart to work with. I'm going to do my best to wrap up this analysis, but I won't have any moving averages to use, barely any RSI data. Obviously, anyone who measures an 85% correction could assume that this is oversold. It was. We had a relief rally. This is likely the top of that relief rally, which is an automatic rally. We would hope that this bottoms at the key somewhat support level of 40 to 50 cents. And then what would be great to see from here is to break above the 0.5 fib. That would look really good, because once you break above the 0.5 fib, you don't feel as much the dead cat bounce scenario, but you do look to this full relief rally of $1.16. Now for me, I don't care about 140% move on a project right now. From here, if you bought the absolute bottom, you already had 150% move there. That's the kind of shit you see, like even Dogecoin could do that. So I'm not really sure what's the thing here. I suspect you guys out there in our community have done your own research. You've probably been talked to about this by somebody else that you trust in the industry, or another analyst, I'm not sure. But as for right now, it's a very immature chart. Where we're buying in the hopes of price discovery is a 250% move to the upside, maybe. And then you're in one of the most volatile, insane market environments in history. So with an alt season, $5 is in the cards. From where we're at now, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But outside of that, you're really hoping for the Hail Mary pass. because it's just so limited in data. So if we were to have one bad thing come up for this particular project in whatever capacity, you're talking about it sinking all the way back to 10 cents again, easily, because that's what it did. It went from 7 cents straight to almost $1. Why would we not anticipate that it could fall just as quickly to the downside? We saw the Trump coin do it. Now, obviously, this is much less popular than the Trump coin. Probably zero people know about this except for people that are really, really into blockchain technology or following crypto religiously. Obviously, no one on the streets would know what this project is. I didn't even know what this project was until I had 25 people in my community tell me to look at it. But yeah, just be careful is kind of what I'm saying. Treat this as venture capital. That's around 2% max of your overall portfolio. If you want to play this smarter, I would say maybe wait this week out while Bitcoin dominance is still so high and while we have a crazy week ahead in the market, and then determine how you want to play it. And if we were to get back down to 25 cents, that does not mean that it's the bottom. It does not mean it's a double bottom. It does not mean it's the end and a W will play out. It means that you could be preparing yourself for a potential dead cat bounce, and it could come right back to 14, 13. Why not? It's enough. There's no rules here with charts that are this fresh and in an environment like we're in today. So I'm just telling you all this to be very careful. Let's get to ICP. Look through these charts real quick. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Okay, same chart. Let's stick to our original. All right. So we had topping structure back March 2024 into the end of the year, lower high. This is coming right back through into levels that we were seeing in around election time, or sorry, not election time, around the October solar eclipse, right there in the first pivot higher. So yeah, we're back at $5 on ICP. Let's see what this mid-cycle correction has been, around 65-67%. That's not the end of the world, but did break through this major support line that was holding up technically. I mean, not too long, but it's there. We have the 382 ahead. We've still yet to clear that. So I don't really have any interest in this particular project for my portfolio. This chart is insanely weak. It's been weak since launch. We do know this was like an insider's project that got flooded into into retail exchanges, and then it was just a major liquidity event sell-off from the moment it was listed on those exchanges, and it's been going lower since. There's been no strength in this chart since. It's actually still at the bear market bottom of 2022. And this did sink lower into October 2023, right before eclipse season. And we're here back at eclipse season 2 years later, and we fell pretty much back into the similar horizontal trading range. So this I'm going to delete. This I'm going to delete. And this I am also going to delete. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to move that down a little bit. I'm going to move this down to here. And I'm going to move this up to here. So you're seeing this rejection, 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 support potential, broke through it, came right back to this significant level, test, 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 breakout, return. All right, guys, so if we can't hold $5 ICP, this is going to drop straight to 280 as long as we're not seeing as long as we're not seeing Bitcoin dominance roll over. Why not? It's just really not the healthiest looking chart right now. So what I can say though is if you do believe in a buyback on this, I mean, if we can make it back into this cluster over here of around $50 to $60 ICP, that's 1,000% move. So a little can go a long way in this. Again, the reason to treat it as venture capital, 2% max of your portfolio. Holding 5% of this would have felt like shit for a long time, unless you were trading it in and out, which is a skill. Some of you have that skill. If you do, awesome. But as for this as a portfolio pick, yeah, it's a pretty bad chart. A lot of the altcoin charts look bad, but this one in particular is very, very not so nice. So yeah, be cautious with holding large amounts and get ready to trade this thing if we are to have a reversal. And don't bank on this ever coming back into the prior all-time highs. I mean, that would be very unlikely. Just look at the market cap, what it would have to be, and do some maths, and I think you'll figure it out. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about this chart because there's nothing. Just price discovery to the downside. Telcoin. What's going on here? All right. Unlike the last chart, this actually has traded higher. We have the C19 crash back here. We have a major pivot in November 2020. Crazy alt season move. We are down 92% from the alt season, but if we go from the lows of October, this thing is up about 430%. If we were to go from the lows around the C19 crash, this thing is up 4,000%. Much, much nicer chart in comparison to ICP. What else do I like about this chart? Well, it's continuing higher highs and higher low structure in the reversal. So let me just pull a parallel channel. You could see this isn't going to be clean, by the way. It's hard to be clean here. Something like this. So we got touch point, break. We have a bunch of surfing the top, come to the bottom, return back to the top, and another rejection recently. Every time we get back to the heart line, it's pretty clean too. I would say that I like the fact that it's at the 382 here. Let me just bring this a little closer. I like the fact that it's back at the 382. Also rejected at the bottom of the golden pocket. So we're getting rejected at a important level that we typically see rejections at after we've had a bottom. So, I mean, buying this bottom at all would have been a almost 900, I mean, a full 1,000% move for sure, but it could have been an opportunity for 900%. That's crazy. So this was good. I like the structure. There is structure. And now is it a buy? Well, getting back into the 702, which is where it starts to get like kind of dicey. This project in particular, it looks like it's around the top of the golden pocket, like 0 to 6 cents, 2.8, maybe 2.3, and then we have the 888. We haven't really seen much go on over there, so anything really close to the 888 is already starting to become price discovery because this is just a blow off top. So I think what we've just seen is this prior support that was attempting to hold, which then became the breakdown into the bear market. That was just our first retest and rejection there. It's normal. It's healthy. As for the buyback here, it's a tough call because we haven't made it to this level right there. It's around 003. A bunch of action over here, and here. You see that little area where we were just popping around before release? If we came back there after rejecting off the top of the bottom of the golden pocket, I would feel more confident. So this isn't shitty at all. I have a lot more positive things to say about this chart than all the other charts that we looked at. It's just, yeah, getting into right here is the middle of the lows. We could be on another 18% correction to the downside, or this could very well be it. Tough call, especially in this environment. So given that Bitcoin still has a couple weeks ahead where we can see some weird stuff go down, yeah, and it would need to get back to around all-time highs to put a 1,000% move on. That's a tough call right now with this market environment. Very tough call to anticipate above the 888 fib on this altcoin until we see Bitcoin dominance drop down. So let's look quickly at Bitcoin dominance before we wrap this one up. Let me take a note on that real quick. All right. This is crazy how clean this rally has been for Bitcoin dominance. You see that we've just been holding this parallel channel since March 2023, and now we've broke out again, and we are pushing up towards the top of this parallel channel. So when we get to the top of the parallel channel, we tend to get rejected there. And off of these rejections, we see pretty cyclical move. That's a 5% move. This is call it 5% move. This was even bigger. This was a 5% move. This 3%, but it got even crazier. That was why this almost felt like an alt season. Now, if we were to make it over here, let's just say this aligned with like around April 14th. at around 63.5%. If we were to lose 5%, it would bring us back to 60, retesting where we were over here, which would be kind of the perfect level to bounce again. So when we zoom out at the overall story here in Bitcoin dominance, we can see that it's the 73% level, which right now we're 10% away from. That 71 to 73% level is where we've gotten rejected, leading into all of our past really major alt seasons. So can Bitcoin swipe through this level all the way to 73? Well, if it was to, it would probably need to happen over the next 3 to 4 months, right? Then how do alt seasons go down? Well, we could see a lot of things happen in just a single 3 to 4 week period. We could see a couple of things. We could see many 100% moves across the board in 2 weeks, right? We saw what XRP did in this time frame over here from November 5th to December 2nd, which is one full perfect calendar month. Let me take the exact move. In one calendar month, 29 days, it went up 500%. Okay? So that's kind of like the thing that would be going down. Now, after breaking above this parallel channel, that would be the move that I think would be when we anticipate that sharp move back up to like 68 or 70. I'm starting to think more now that there's definitely a possibility for Bitcoin to get to 70% dominance. Just look at what happened with Trump coin. The more that type of shit just continues to drain out to zero, well, then it all goes into Bitcoin and stable coins. So I think stable coin dominance needs to top out, and then we'll start to see Bitcoin dominance also top out, and that will be a harmony effect, like a symphony, and it'll all roll over into the alts really fast. So I'm feeling we're getting close to our next moment where we start to see noticeable recovery in the entire market. It's just critical that we see the stock market bottom soon. It would be the week ahead that I'm anticipating it to happen. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast here. Covered a lot today. Like I said in the intro of today's video, Waters Above University enrollment is officially open. So if you are interested in joining us over there, go to watersabove.com/mm-university, or you could find the pinned comment or the description will have the link that you could click on. It'll take you to this page that is private. It's not available to the public, showing you that it will give you a $55 off discount, biggest discount available and the only discount available. There will not be one to the public. You can join us over there, less than $1 a day for this annual plan. You get the full 9-week accelerator course and then access to our university community, as well as the weekly group coaching call and live Q&A hosted by me all the way until 2026. So looking forward to having some of you join us over there. Really appreciate and grateful for every single one of you. And I'm wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.